What is the Black Death? The Black Death was a plague pandemic that struck Europe in the mid-14th century, roughly from 1347 to 1351. It killed between 25 and 30 million people, which amounted to about a third of Europe's population at the time. The cause of the disease was the bacterium Yersinia pestis, which was transmitted through fleas living on rats. Interesting fact, the name Black Death came about because of the black spots that appeared on the skin of patients due to subcutaneous hemorrhaging. How did the Black Death spread across Europe? The pandemic began in Central Asia and quickly spread along trade routes, including the Silk Road. Ships carrying infected people arrived at ports such as Genoa and Venice, which contributed to the rapid spread of the disease. Interesting fact, in some cities, such as Messina, ships carrying plague patients were isolated, leading to the first quarantine measures. What symptoms did those infected show? Symptoms of the Black Death varied, but the most common included fever, headache, muscle aches, and swollen lymph nodes known as buboes. In severe cases, the disease could lead to sepsis and death within days. Interesting fact. Some patients developed a form of plague known as Black Plague, in which black spots appeared on the skin, making the disease particularly horrible. How did society react to the pandemic? Reactions ranged from panic and fleeing cities to trying to find those responsible. Many people looked to religion to explain the disaster, blaming Jews for poisoning the wells. Interesting fact. As a result of anti-Semitic sentiment, many Jewish communities were destroyed in some regions, despite there being no evidence of guilt. What were the effects of the Black Death on the economy? The economic effects were devastating. The labor force shrank, which increased wages for the remaining workers. It also helped change the social structure and weakened the feudal system. Interesting fact. New economic opportunities arose in some regions, such as the development of crafts and trade, which eventually led to the beginning of the Renaissance. How did the Black Death affect culture and the arts? The pandemic had a significant impact on art and literature. Themes of death and fear began to dominate artistic works, including death in Boccaccio's Secrets. Interesting fact. During this time, a new art movement known as Danse Macabre emerged, depicting the dance of death that symbolized the inevitability of fate. What medical practices were used to combat the plague? Medical practices of the time were primitive. Doctors used a variety of methods, including bloodletting, the use of herbs, and the use of antidotes that they believed could resist the disease. Interesting fact, one method of defense was thought to be wearing death masks. Special masks with long noses filled with aromatic substances that were thought to filter stinky air. How did the Black Death affect religion? The pandemic challenged people's faith. Many became more religious, but many sects also arose that rejected traditional church teachings. This also contributed to the emergence of reform movements. Interesting fact, Pope Clement VI called for prayers but was not affected by the epidemic himself, which caused resentment among the faithful. What were the long-term effects of the Black Death? Long-term effects included changes in the social and economic structure of society, the growth of the working class, and an increased focus on hygiene and health issues. Interesting fact. The Black Death is considered to be one of the reasons that contributed to the start of the Renaissance era, as society became more open to new ideas and reforms. How has the Black Death affected modern society? Modern epidemics such as COVID-19 have reminded us of the Black Death. Society is once again faced with public health challenges and the need to respond quickly to threats. Interesting fact. The Black Death left a significant legacy in the medical and social sciences, and many of the lessons from that era are still relevant to modern society. The Black Death was a catastrophic event in history that left an indelible mark on culture, economics, and medicine. Studying this period not only helps us understand the past, but also provides valuable lessons for our modern world. Make the background music YouTube background music.